What's up everyone, welcome back to Beyond ARTV. My name is John and you're tuned into my Q&A series, Dear John. In this show, I take a detailed music-related viewer question that you guys leave in the comments section down below, starting with Dear John so that I could find you, and then I answer it in video form if I feel it needs more context, explanation, or if I simply find the subject matter to be interesting. Today we're taking on a viewer question from a user named Doomsy about the rise of EDM and pop EDM more specifically. We're going to talk about electronic music, and I know that's going to be something that interests some people aren't going to be as interested, but I do think this is going to be an interesting discussion, so make sure you stay tuned. Please drop a like on the video, and of course subscribe to the channel for the love of music. And I also have to give a special shout out. Go subscribe to The Wonky Angle on YouTube. Tommy is a great guy who's been talking about electronic music for years now at this point, and he's much more nuanced and also educated on electronic music. So if you want somebody that's actually going to give you great content and somebody that knows what he's talking about when it comes to electronic music, then go subscribe. I will leave a link in the description down below. Dear John, what do you feel about the rise of pop EDM crossovers and the steady decline of EDM in the mainstream? I ask this because as an EDM fan, I worry about the fact that most producers are only producing stale pop, and artists like Marshmello are just making formulaic drops that don't contain any energy or emotion. Thank you for that awesome question, Doomsy. I do apologize that it took me a while to get to an answer for this, but it popped back into my mind the other night that I had taken a screenshot of this one. I wanted to answer it, and what reminded me of it is I was sitting there, to be quite honest, I was bored, and I was thinking about music that I had reviewed in the past 5 years, but I hadn't listened to in a while, at least stuff that I had liked. And that got me thinking about some electronic artists that I hadn't heard in a while, and that inspired me to go listen to some Aphex Twin, some Deadmau5, even a little bit of Madian, and a few other artists along the way. And it also made me think of this question because, oh my god, in the mainstream, things do not look good right now because Marshmello is the current face of electronic music in the mainstream. People think of this and they think, oh my god, the dude in the little costume, he's got the marshmallow on his head. I think he's got his own Fortnite emote. It must be cool. God help us if Marshmello is the future of electronic music, because I think that the infiltration of EDM, it happened a long time ago. I think that dubstep and that dance movement of the late 2000s moving into like 2012 when dubstep was really conquering, and some of the stuff that kind of rinsed and repeated in the years that followed, that already happened. We got those artists. That's how we were introduced to the likes of Zedd, who really burst onto the map with singles like Clarity, which I still like, to be quite honest. But in the years that have followed, things have taken a steady decline, like Doomsy already pointed out. We no longer have a ton of electronic or EDM hits crossing over into the mainstream, and the ones that we do get, oh my god, they feel so programmed, so stale, and that is largely thanks to artists like Zedd and Marshmello, among others. Sure, DJ Snake possibly, a couple of others. Dylan Francis has had a few, although I feel he's definitely a bit more of a go-to for me than those others. I just think that the go-to move now is if you're a producer, you're not going to get your name out there. You're not going to be heard in the mainstream. People aren't going to give you a chance if you're just making electronic music, if you don't have the vocals. So instead of making something that might have some energy or some passion or some build-up or suspense, we get these songs that are so bland, so predictable. Look at the fucking Chainsmokers. A lot of their old stuff, it was the same thing over and over again. And I understand why so many people get angry. I feel that they improved with their Sick Boy release, the album that is. But since then, they've been continuing to put out some kind of bad songs, like Who Do You Love featuring Five Sauce. I feel that these producers just see the money bags and they just see the success that the other artist has, and they're like, hey, I make the songs and it's great. The producers are getting recognition now. They're being officially credited on tracks and they totally deserve that. But at the same time, since the rise of that, they're like, well, I made this track and I'd love to get Selena Gomez to hop on that. And that's why we got Wolves with Marshmello, which is really boring, if you ask me. And then Tacky Tacky, oh my god, with DJ Snake, cannot fucking stand that song. And then you've got some that I guess went a little bit better than others. Silence with Marshmello and Khalid was actually a pretty good teaming up, although that drop, I understand why so many people get sick of the steady program drops, that it's just like boom, 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 boom. It sounds like somebody pressing buttons behind the keyboard behind the laptop. My introduction to electronic music was through the likes of the Chemical Brothers and Skrillex, who are on opposite ends of the spectrum, although I still have a lot of love for both of them. Skrillex has been a lot less relevant in recent years, especially after he kind of retired his Jack U project. That was something that he teamed up for. It was a duo of both himself and obviously the infamous Diplo. And I didn't really dig that one overall. There were a few songs that had some energy and presence, but in the recent years, I would say since 2015, EDM in the mainstream has been more about the relatability factor. Let's get a guest on here. Let's get Lauren Mayberry of Churches, and we'll call it a Churches feature, although it's really just Lauren Mayberry. We'll team them up with Marshmello, and then we've got this track here with me, which is literally seemingly about the same thing as every other EDM pop crossover ever. There's some sort of love interest, or there's some sort of conflict, and how do we get through this? And then we repeat one phrase during the drop and the hook, a couple of words, and it all comes back around again, and it's just so damn monotonous. It's truly a shame what's going on in the current state of electronic and EDM music in the mainstream, because as I mentioned before, this is not at all a good representation of said genres. With trap, rap, and country being the three biggest genres it seems on the charts right now, I feel that EDM is getting super stale because it's pandering to the nth degree. It's really trying to get across some sort of relatable message. It's like these relatable meme accounts that try so hard to make every situation relatable, and after a while it just gets old. I think back to even a few years ago when we'd get something like the Disclosure track with Sam Smith, Latch, which I thought was pretty good, and some of the other hits that were crossing over at that time. And now we fast forwarded years later, and what? We're getting Benny Blanco with Brendan Urie and Juice WRLD on a miserable cut like Roses? No thank you. Speaking of Roses, that was actually a pretty good track by the Chainsmokers featuring Roses. I don't know about you guys, but I miss the energy, I miss the passion, I miss being able to dance to electronic dance music, I miss that aspect. It's been gone for a while now in the mainstream in many ways. Yes, there are a few songs that come out that definitely break that norm and the standard, but then again, for every song that we get like that, we get 10, like The Middle by Zedd and Maren Morris, that literally make me want to hold my head underwater for 5 minutes straight and contemplate why I made the decision to hear that song again. That's my take on the rise of pop, EDM, and electronic music in its current state in the mainstream. Join the discussion with your thoughts in the comments section down below, and please drop a like on the video while you're here and subscribe to the channel for the love of music. It's all just my opinion and take, and I would love to know what you think about the current state of electronic music in the mainstream. If you'd like to be a part of a future episode, possibly you could get your question selected, start it with Dear John, and leave a detailed music-related question down below. Catch up on the entire Dear John Q&A series by tapping this annotation here. It'll take you to the full playlist, or tap right over here to see another recent video I made on the channel. Other than that, all of my social media can be found in the description down below, and if you would like to support the channel on Patreon, it's the top link or else that annotation in the corner. Other than that, I'll see you soon for more on Beyond ARTV.